to the day that we dreamed of. I see it coming as we press on. We will not relent. Now and never to the day that we dreamed of. I see it coming. We'll never back down. We will not relent. Now and never to the day that we dreamed of. I see it coming as we press on. We will not relent. Now and never to the day that we dreamed of. I see it coming alive.
Hey, and we're live. Yeah, welcome back to the show, everybody. Cannaheads is a once-a-week podcast. Oh, there we go. Sorry, my audio workback was not working. All right, so it's your once-a-week live show for the latest in cannabis news. Typically, we do nationally, but we also do local news when it pops up. Sorry, this is way too loud for my comfort. There we go. All right, much better. Now I'm where I'm at. So yeah, welcome back to the show, everybody. It's a once-a-week podcast and the latest in cannabis, local, and national news every Sunday. We start at 7:30. Typically, you go for about an hour to an hour and a half. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter one. As you can see, it's just me by myself. So yeah, sure, Anthony will probably be next week or maybe the week after that, just depending on what's going on. Actually, I know for a fact that we're doing a show next week. But yeah, if you like newsy, podcasty type things, be sure to listen to KRFF Radio Free Fargo on 95.9. That's on Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. with Greg Wilson. And my cat just decided to walk in front of that. Cat, you should probably not stare at a very bright light. There we go. As you can tell, we are very, very well prepared here. But yeah, so we got a episode coming up this on the 4th. So that's next week. Yes, that's the one. Next week we'll have a show with Doctor the legislator Doctor Representative Doctor. And he's going to be talking to us about his measure, HB1420, which wasn't on purpose. The numbering was not on purpose whatsoever. We just got lucky that way. And so, yeah, that's the measure. We'll be talking a little bit more about it here later. But he's going to be on. There's going to be kind of like a conversation about it. So be sure to listen to that. The next week, the reason why there's 100% going to be a show is so when a measure passes House, there's a specific day that the deadline is. So any measure that survives basically all the committees and goes to the floor has to be done before the 26th. 26th is called the crossover day. That's when the bills cross over. So that's when they'll go to Senate. So the bill is written, it goes to committees that would affect that law, would affect like certain different things. So it goes to those committees for their input and figuring out, what should be changed and all of that stuff. And that's kind of what happened through the committees that I went through. And so the Human Services Committee is the one that it kind of came more out what the actual intentions were. And so it's going to go to a floor vote hopefully this week. It has to go to the floor vote this week. One big thing, so I guess I should preface this. Legalize ND, it seems like they have kind of stopped petitioning for their measure and are trying to go with the 1420 because it seems like a lot of their measure is being covered in 1420. We'll kind of jump a little bit more into it, but obviously legislatively would be the best route. A citizen-led initiative citizen-led initiative would have been the best way. But for what we have right now, any kind of movement is the best kind of movement. So if you would like to send your representative a email, check out, if you go to ndforfreedom.com or .org, it will take you to their page, which is right here. And so this is, you fill out your name, email, you give your street address, your city, and it'll figure out the representatives in your district. And then you'll write out whatever you'd like to send them, and it'll send an email to each of those representatives in your district. I feel like all the representatives would have been a better option, but at the same time, I can understand it being kind of annoying. Somebody who didn't even vote for you, kind of like, or didn't even have the ability to vote for you, to, them telling you what to do. So I can definitely understand that. So yeah, you can fill out this form, and I'll send an email to those people, just to, show like, hey, I voted for you, motherfucker, or I thought that you were okay. you should do this. So yeah, this is kind of telling people, hey, vote yes on 1-4-20. And we'll kind of get a little bit more into the reason why I think 1-4-20 is a good option right now. And by good option, I mean any kind of effort into legalizing is a good move, no matter what it is. And as somebody once told me, it's about the long fight and not the short fight. You won't ever get everything that you want. You kind of have to be flexible with it, and then you can change things as it comes along, so there's more proof of why this is a problem, why this is not a problem. So yeah, those are the things with that. Couple other channel updates. YouTube, in its infinite wisdom, has decided to be doing shorts. Shorts are TikTok, essentially, on YouTube. So I am going to be working at doing short form content about news. It'll be everything that I've learned about the shorts program. It's a little bit more work than I'm able to put in, just because they say it has to be on a constant basis, like a daily type of a thing. Daily uploads are like the best type for it. I don't think it would be daily uploads until like something big happens. Then I'll do daily uploads, but they're basically 60-second, 35 to 60-second blurbs, videos in the most cancerous form of video, and that is vertical video. So like, you have your phone like this and not like this. This is how people normally watch videos, but apparently everybody, millennials, like this way. I don't know why, but that's a thing. So that will be the content for a little bit. So I'll be doing like updates, essentially. So be sure to watch those. They help the channel a lot. Actually, watching any video helps the channel a lot, but shorts especially help way more than you would ever think. Also, you can hit the like button, and yeah, subscribe if you like these types of shows. So I'm done shilling, and we will go on to the news. Patients flock to Florida's medical marijuana program, driving surge in job growth. The medical marijuana market in Florida created nearly 15,000 new jobs in 2020, and employs an estimated 31,444 state residents, according to the new survey that they did. And it's weird because Florida... So, like 2 weeks ago, there was a surge of people flying to Florida to get the vaccine. So it's funny to see that, like, hey, Florida is actually doing things right, because normally we don't see Florida doing things right, or at least as far as their residents. The craziest stories come out of Florida, so it's interesting. But medical marijuana patient registration surged in Florida's last year, with 170 new patients in 2020, and that's to the state of the state's Office of Medical Marijuana. As of February 12th, there are 485,693 state residents that are qualified patients who can receive prescriptions. There are 2,644 actual physicians that prescribe, or recommend, I guess would be the better word for it. And there are 313 dispensaries statewide. That's a very little number, but at the same time, if their system can handle it with 313 different dispensaries, hey, it seems to be going well. Sales projected by 2030 in Florida to top $6 billion. And currently there's also a House Bill 343, and it would legalize marijuana for adults over 21 and establish a regulatory approach, a robust and free market regulatory approach. I didn't really drive too far into that one, but that's a interesting thing that they have. There are also 4 committees, or there are 4 measures in committee. House Bill 343 has to go through those committees, and yeah, so it's interesting to see that, like, a lot of people say, like, there's no, like, industry for it, when in reality there's shitloads of money there, and that goes to the state and also to its residents, and in times like this with people being unemployed, these options are a lot better than sitting on unemployment. As easy as fun as that would be. Yeah, so it's interesting to see that, that's for sure. And yeah, so the main event, 1420, this is the thing that a lot of people have mixed feelings on. And yeah, so House Bill 1420 would allow adults 21 or older to possess and purchase to 1 ounce of cannabis for personal use. And by purchase, they mean 21 grams. Because that apparently is an ounce, which it's not. Really weird. But people aged 21 or older would be able to purchase up to 21 grams of marijuana twice a month, and they can't possess more than an ounce at a time. It's a little bit weird that they say an ounce, and then they say 21 grams. That's a little odd. I'm not sure what happens there. But the the bill's right here. And here I know in the actual, so in a measure, there's definitions. So like what each thing means, what each word that they're about to use means. And when you go into here, they say, why don't I control F? 21. Oh, grams. No? Ounce. I guess I can't control find in here? I thought I did. So they also kind of, because it's the drug chart, or the drug law, they have to kind of like rework things in there. So it's covered with like, what a drug means, what a controlled substance means, and everything like that, because you're affecting that part of the law that you kind of have to, you got to take marijuana out of the definitions and, use what you need with it. So they have like opium poppy and all that stuff. And that's the reason why it's a little confusing to read. But basically, 21 or older can purchase up to 21 grams of marijuana twice a month. So it's 42 grams a month, which it's not 2 ounces. Either way, twice a month, and they can't possess more than an ounce at a time. And that's the reason where I have like that weird, like, okay, so the reason why you're picking 21 is because you think that somebody at the end of 2 weeks is going to have 7 grams left. Like it seems and it's possible to do that, but it seems very like odd with the wording, and I think that anybody after the fact will also be like, oh, I can possess up to an ounce, so I need to buy an ounce, so I need to go to this dispensary and say, hey, can you give me an ounce? And then they give me a 21-gram bag, and I'm like, what the hell? I got shorted at a dispensary. So I think it kind of needs to be a little bit more vocal and more public about the reasoning behind it. The one that I'm thinking, the one that every 2 or twice a month, so you got 7 left over type of a thing. I can understand that, but I don't have any information saying that's the reason why. So it would be really interesting to see what that would mean, and the reason why they say 21 grams is an ounce, or what their thought process is behind that. But the other issue, so this is set to, if it passes through Senate, if it passes through House first, and then it goes to Senate, it will be starting sales on July 1st, 2022. So changes were made. Term marijuana while hash was removed from the proposal. The definition of THC was revised to exclude the derivative derived from industrial hemp. Penalties for underage possession would be an infraction. Anyone under the age of 21 up to an ounce would be a Class B misdemeanor, and anything over, infraction to have under an ounce if you're under 21, and anything over would be a Class B. So that's a little bit. They're also decrimming it, especially. So unpopular opinion when I say this, and I realize it is an unpopular opinion. I think this is the best route right now, and the reason why this is the best route is because here we got, if this passes through, we at least have down on the ground legal cannabis. Whether or not, the problem that a lot of people are seeing is that there's tracking in medical marijuana as well. The only thing that they're going to be doing is expanding the amount of people that can be in that system. This is done in other states as well. It's to keep people from going from one dispensary to another and buying an ounce here and buying an ounce there, which, by the way, in North Dakota would have been a very, very long trip. Like, you can go to Grand Forks, like in Grand Forks, for instance, I can go to Grand Forks, then I can go to Fargo. Like, that's a pretty long drive for an ounce. The amount of money that would cost me to get there and back would be more than I would be spending. But what it means is we got cannabis legalized. That doesn't mean that it's perfect. We will never be able to get, because everybody's opinions, are different, but we'll never be able to get the perfect cannabis system without first having issues getting into the gate. So the issues that we've been having getting into the gate would be getting signatures for measures, bullshit decrim that really was in name only, essentially, and the uphill battle that has been COVID, the uphill battle that has been, even before COVID, weather was an issue, because if you're a petitioner and you got to go get signatures and it's negative 20 degrees out, where are you going to go? You're going to go indoors inside malls and stuff like that. And certain malls will let you, others won't. It limits your possibilities, or you'll be doing what I was doing and showing or meeting people in places and being like, okay, I'll take that one signature, and then go on and so forth. And that's in the middle of winter. Summer, this is when I was doing it in summer too. It's a lot more difficult to get signatures than it is to get things through House and Senate. It might be the unfortunate and unpopular opinion, but that's kind of what I feel. So yeah, we'll see if this passes. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what happens. So this passes House and Senate, which Senate is the big one. House, it seems like it's gotten some support just because the committees and the do pass and all that stuff. It seems like House is like 75% chance type of a thing, and that might be overstating it. And then goes to Senate, and that's kind of where we might see some snags. But hopefully it works out. I'm considering possibly showing up on for when they vote on Senate, but it's kind of up to when it happens and work. So we got that. It passes. It turns into law. That's if it doesn't get vetoed. July 1st, 2022. It's going to be a lot of people who normally don't really tell a lot of people that they smoke. Normally, are just, I guess, what I would call a closet stoner. Go out into the open and buy. So a lot of them will be unhappy that, their name is in a database, which, I mean, there's nobody in this world that's name isn't in any database. But you're going to have people be like, well, this is bullshit. I can only buy 21 grams. Like, what the hell? Or I can only have an ounce on me. That's going to be the issue there, right? So what's going to end up happening from there is those people will be like, I want to, like, this has happened, so that there's movement being made. So this isn't a lost cause anymore, and I want to get involved. And that is when petitioning groups and everybody like that can swoop in and grab their the people that want to be involved. You'll have a lot of people who like say they want to be involved type of a thing, but not. You'll have a lot of people that will probably be like, oh, it is my body, I'll do whatever I want, and I'll just have more than an ounce. You'll have those problem areas, but you'll have a lot more people that are interested in changing and working for a more flexible system. But till then, they can at least smoke. And that's the biggest one. They can at least smoke and be a part and be inside of the community, essentially. That's the thing there. So those people will want to get involved. You'll have another petition. You'll have, you'll get over an ounce. But before you try to push it over an ounce, you're going to have to work with the medical marijuana system, because you'll never see a recreational law being able to either go over or at a medical, because they see medical as a more closed system and, a doctor recommended type of a thing. So they're a lot more like down for that issue. So, yeah, so got a couple chats. If this happened to me, I will send my girlfriend, and who doesn't smoke, and take their share. That's essentially what's going to happen. You'll have people who, family members and all that stuff, they'll just stock up. And that's another thing. When they say an ounce, that you can have an ounce on you, I don't know many people, I guess I don't know any people who deal in large quantities. But I don't really know that many people that walk around with multiple ounces. So, and your chances of getting busted when you're at your house, especially if it's legal, your risks would be at your house is just the smell. And certain housing will, limit the smell. Like, you can't smoke inside of our buildings type of a thing. But your chances of getting caught are a lot larger when you're out and about. So as long as you don't carry an ounce or over an ounce, you're fine. What you have at home, a cop's not going to, walk back with you to your house, unless, you're being investigated for something else. I don't go through an ounce a month personally already. Yeah, and I guess it depends. It depends on, because in there's also extracts. Oh, I guess concentrates is what they consider it as. So you got you can get up to a gram, I believe is what the number was, of concentrates. So yeah, you're gonna have a little bit. You're gonna be using a little bit more if you're smoking flower on top of a concentrate or something like that. So it also depends on people's tolerances and everything like that. But yeah, there's some people, an ounce is good enough. And honestly, for me, like I'm very low tolerance. Um, an ounce would probably last me about a month and a half. But I don't smoke every night type of a thing. So yeah. But if it was legal, I would want to, yeah, as at parties and stuff like that, and I'd go through way more. And that's also another aspect of it. So it won't be public. You can't go to a park and smoke. But if you're at somebody's private house, a house party type of thing, yeah. And I think another thing that it would have is, um, some people just buy and smoke and they go to work type of a thing. Um, Others, are kind of in their circle group, like the stoners and everything like that. I hate using the term, but this is the easiest way I can describe it. So they have like a little community type of a deal. Like they have a friendship and everybody's like cool with everybody. And if one of those people is like, hey, you know what, this ounce thing is a little bit bullshit. I want to like join this group that's trying to get, home grow or something like that. Then those other friends might want to be like, well, if you're doing it, let's do it all together. And it will help that tremendously. But it's a matter of getting behind that in the first place. And I think that's kind of where we're seeing Legalize ND do it. And North Dakota Cannabis Caucus seems to be a little bit more on the fence. They were neutral during the hearing when it was in committee. But yeah, you'll have like people who will want to join and change. Another thing that we also, this isn't going to be perfect, and we can all see that the wheels are going to come off very quickly. So you'll see this happen, and there'll be people who are like, well, there's this other measure, it's home grow. And the reason why home grow would be helpful in this type of a scenario is the best example, and I keep using this example, and I'm sorry if it gets repetitive, but Fargo. During the pandemic, Fargo's dispensary, because there isn't many dispensaries, one of the major dispensaries closed down in North Dakota in Fargo, and people had to, in the middle of a pandemic, drive to Grand Forks to pick up. And I don't even know what the specifics are because I'm not a medical patient, but they had to drive far away. Now, if we just take, these are two major cities, like Grand Forks and Fargo are pretty big. But if we just shift it over to the center or even more East Coast or West Coast, if we just push that over, those cities are way more far apart. And that's going to be the problem, is what happens if this city doesn't have one, and then this city does. So now it takes 4 hours to drive to pick up an ounce. That's going to be the biggest issue. And in North Dakota, the biggest thing, I don't hate North Dakota, but my biggest pet peeve about it is how it's a very, very open state. Like, you got major towns and you got smaller minor towns, but you got like an hour worth of driving in between them. So I think what's going to end up happening there is we're going to see that, home grow might be the best option for that. And that's the reason why I believe in home grow. I don't believe it in the sense of people saving money because it's more expensive. I don't believe it in the, I also believe that, well, actually, yeah, I also believe that quality is another thing. You got 2 grow companies in North Dakota. That's it, at least that I know of. You got 2 major grow companies. That's it. And so they're the ones who can dictate price. They're the ones who can dictate quality and testing and all that stuff, and what their testing results look like, essentially, and in some aspects. That, I mean, this kind of got swept under the rug a little bit, and I tried to, like, boost it as much as I could, but, like, about, I want to say 6 or 7 months ago, there was a medical patient that purchased in North Dakota. I forgot what the brand name of the company is. I don't want to get that one wrong because, yeah. But they had used a water pipe, I believe is what it was. They had used a water pipe, which we all know what that means. So they had used that, and when they took it out and like they put it on a piece of paper, there was brown, or not brown shit, there was like purple shit coming off of it. Basically, when it got wet, there was a bunch of purple shit. And that liquid should not be on anything to do with cannabis. Yes, it can be picked up from the the tannins in the bud, but in the amount and how like radiant it was, it really does seem like it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't food coloring, but fertilizer probably. That batch actually I think ended up getting pulled until something came out of it. I don't remember the specifics of it, but the quality would also be a thing. And if you got people who grow at home basically challenging the quality from these companies, then yeah, you're going to get better quality product. And that's another thing is like, I mean, it's going to be expensive, but if it's worth the money, I think many people would be more willing to accept the price. So that's another one of those things. And so I think there's going to be a lot of change that happens after this. That again is to say that this actually happens. And so the only thing to make that happen is, I guess, showing that you care to people who are in the position to be making the changes to law. So, and that's another thing is this is a lot better than a group, specifically because they are a majority. They were majority voted in their count in their district, so they have a lot more supporters than any of the groups. As far as put together, they have more supporters either by proxy, by anybody else that would vote in favor that they are talking with. They have a lot more supporters than any other group. So I fully believe in this. You might not, but I think it's worth at least a try. If it does fail, then you got those two groups to back up. You got two groups for backup. Nothing really changed. If anything, you maybe lost a month. A month put together worth of time. So yeah, this isn't like a total screw over for those groups, but it is. But it only depends on how they I talked about this in the last episode, but it kind of got screwed up because I fucked up. So that episode kind of got erased. But in those scenarios where people were, kind of being a little bit more aggressive towards the database and all that stuff, it depends on how you actually approach the topic, and the problem would dictate actually what ends up happening here. So if you go completely against it and you say, fuck that measure, it screws us over, fuck it. You're going to have a lot of people that if this passes, that on the day it passes, they stop caring about legalization because they got what they want. That's it. And you'll have other people who truly care and are like, I know this is a bad system. I know like the politic version of this system that I can see that this is a problem. Most of the people watching this understand that this is going to be kind of a little bit of an interesting scenario. But those are the people that will continue. But you've lost everybody else. And at that point, you've alienated everybody. And then you got the other group who I hate that I have to say this in a very happy, professional way. I'm very glad that they are backing this in such a way to put all their resources into it. That's not to say that their form and their measure and their views and everything about it is right at all. But that they're pushing their social media following, that they're pushing everybody in that group to continue like, hey, this is a thing that could possibly happen. Let's throw some people and let's throw like time and effort into this because this is a thing that has to happen. Into it is much better than saying fuck that database. That's not the right way to do that. So that's kind of, I hate that I have to be supportive of a group that I do not agree with, and that I have to be unsupportive of a group that I, at the end and long run, agree with. I hate that I have to do that, but that's kind of the landscape that we're at right now. So, yeah, exactly. I hope that they do pass it too. I honestly, I think what we'll see is this will happen in 2022, which is a very long time. It's more than a year. So this will happen in 2022. They should hopefully by that time realize that, hey, there's got to be more grow ops to kind of expand, because this is going to basically just stress out the medical system that we have in North Dakota, because it's literally two companies. Like, they probably won't be able to support the demand. Another thing that I think a lot of people are realizing, at least in legislature, is that it's not, people aren't going to just accept that this fails and not consider going to Minnesota, South Dakota, Canada in some cases. I don't know how well you'd fare there with that, but going there, picking up, and driving back. It's not going to stop that. This is probably going to, if anything, just kind of even out that amount of like frustration with people that would plan on doing something like that, and would save their criminal history a lot, because that's across state lines. Like, that's a big deal. So having that type of a situation, it'll help the people in the U.S. or in North Dakota not to do that. But yeah, I think we'll still see, I hate saying black market because I guess it's the black market, but like not. We'll see unofficial sources of cannabis. We'll see that. But if anything, they would be a little bit more lax with issues. Like, if they get caught with an ounce, they're fine, type of a thing. I know that there's like the packaging and everything like that. That will be a thing. I'm sure that they're going to try to do some sort of a thing where they can figure out if it's from, North Dakota or not, type of a thing. But at the end of the day, you'll have cops who don't give a shit enough to really care, and, just let you go. But at least at the end of the day, people who, for instance, like when I first moved here, I didn't know who to call to pick up from or anything like that. People in those types of situations, or just don't want to risk that type of a thing, but still like to smoke, or like people who go to Colorado often, like on summer break or type of a deal, they will be able to just go to their local dispensary and pick up. So yeah, that's kind of my view with 1420. I guess the video form is probably a much better statement, so I think I'll probably clip this part, just because, yeah, this was probably the best way to do it. I did write a couple posts on Facebook and stuff like that, and talk to people. If you have any comments, if your view is different than mine, that's perfectly fine. By the way, first of all, I hope you do. Comment it, if you're watching this later. I know you guys have been in chat, so thank you guys for watching, by the way. So yeah, that's essentially that. And so we'll kind of clear it up with a weird thing that happened in North Dakota last week. So a couple weeks ago, there was a bill that would. So Apple and Android, you have the App Store, right? And there are paid apps on this App Store. So Epic Games, got annoyed at Apple for taking a cut of their money because they have to use their payment services. So they have to use Apple's payment services. So there was a law that got recommended that would target the fees by requiring companies that make $10 million or more. So only Apple and Android in the state that they would have that you would have to be able to use another payment source. So yeah, it required the alternative payment processors for purchase through the App Store. So that developers only in North Dakota, because it's a North Dakota law, so that's like none of them, to avoid Apple or Google's cut. So why I found this interesting is this isn't a North Dakota problem. This has been Apple fighting with Fortnite and a couple other companies. They actually started a coalition. What's the name of the coalition? Oh, please. They made a coalition. I can't find the name of it. Actually, it was the Coalition for App Fairness. So last month, a lobbyist named Kyle Davison, a North Dakota state senator, or last month, a lobbyist approached him with a very unusual proposal to stop Google and Apple from forcing companies to hand over a share of their app sales. So essentially saying you have to allow either another payment processor only in North Dakota, or you have to, they have to give all of the money that they made, and Apple and Google has to eat the cost of payment processing, which is actually quite expensive if you compound it. So essentially, what this is a dry run at a possible. They haven't gotten it federally. They've tried to pass laws federally. The coalition has tried to pass laws to make it so that they can't be forced to use Apple or Google's payment services. So they wanted to see it on a smaller scale, and they picked North Dakota, apparently. It's also the same exact wording and everything is also being passed in Arizona. That didn't work so well. So they're debating on it. It's probably not going to happen. It did get killed in North Dakota. Yeah, so it's weird the way that they had gotten him to accept it too. Essentially, a Zoomer talked to a Boomer, and then he said, "Oh, I know what you're talking about," and we're like, "Yeah, let's try to pass this." Didn't work so well. But the hearing drew Washington lawyers, like lawyers from Washington are trying to see this because this is like North Dakota is becoming a state that is testing laws regarding tech in North Dakota. So like they want to change something at home, but they don't want to fuck it up at home. So they decide to come here to fuck it up here. And then if it doesn't work out, then at least it wasn't me. Or at least it wasn't my state. So I can live happily ever after. Which is kind of fucked up. So yeah, that's kind of how they're doing it. At the end of the day, what would have ended up actually happening is if this actually had passed, which there was no way it would have. But if this had actually passed, you wouldn't have been able to use the app stores in your phones in North Dakota. You would have had to use like a VPN. It would have pretty much killed it right then and there. Because payment processing is very expensive. I mean, it's 40 cents here, 20 cents there, depending on the, how much money or depending on what kind of card or bank and all that stuff. But it adds up. And to Apple, for them to eat the cost of absolutely anything just in general, they say, fuck that, I'm out on everything. Google has been a little bit more flexible with eating costs. They had like there's an Australian law that basically if you link a news source from a news organization, that company has to pay the news organization money. And Apple is just like, fuck that. Facebook actually too was just like, fuck that, we're not going to do that. And so they cut off all news links for a day just to, play a joke, just to kind of prove a point. And Google was like, you know what, let's just start paying these people. Like, this is kind of how it has to be. So that's essentially what happened here. It's a little bit weird. It's probably not the last time we see this either. We might not see it in the App Fairness Coalition type of a thing, but we'll probably see some really crazy tech laws. And I also found it really funny that that how they let's see, where was the part? Yeah, so he thought that such a law would attract tech companies to North Dakota. Again, it would have done the complete other opposite. It's fucked up that we do have platforms and companies that are so large and necessary being able to essentially wield their power, wield their users that probably don't even agree with them in the first place, to get what they want. Like, that's pretty much what they do. Like I was saying in like Facebook in Australia. Facebook was like, fuck that. I ain't paying those news organizations in Australia. I'm not doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so you can't post a single news link on our website. So the people that got screwed in that wasn't the news organization. Well, they did a little bit, but it was the people in Australia. They're the ones who got screwed. Essentially the same thing happening here. It would have just been, all right, well, if this is a thing, then we're not handing over. They take 30%. So like if you pay it, if it's $1 app, they pay 30 cents, or they take 30 cents. But in some cases, they actually lowered it to 15. And that was when a lot of people found out that Apple was taking the 30% from like the app that had like 1,000 downloads type of a thing. But yeah, they essentially what they would have done is just turned it off. Like, you can't purchase this app in North Dakota. You can download this free one, but you can't purchase it. And that would have, I mean, I don't pay for a lot of apps, but people who do and or use an app that they need like the V-Bucks form of, so it's like if you have in-game currency type of thing, a lot of people will be fucked over on that. They won't be able to use it. So glad this died. It was supposed to die. I'm glad it never had a chance. But yeah, so it the idea was that people can download an alternative app store, which there are for Apple and Android, but they're nowhere near polished enough that it made it very difficult for people to use. So it would have just basically screwed everybody over. So yeah, North Dakota Senate voted 36-11 on Thursday not to pass the bill. And yeah, so it was good. And I'm glad that died. So I kind of try to focus more on North Dakota today. Again, it was a little bit shorter just because it's me by myself. But I want to thank you guys very much for watching. Next week, again, we'll be talking about 1420 and the outcome, because they have till the 26th. So by the time that I'm live, we would have had the answer. And I might even go live earlier than that. Like, if it dies, I'll probably go live that night. So yeah. So again, go to ndforfreedom.com if you'd like to email your legislature and ask, for them to vote yes Again, it's super. Where's that thing? There it is. Okay. So it's this one right here. So you just fill out your first, last name, email. Again, you have to be in North Dakota for this. So if you're out of state, this is a thing that you can do. Or if you can't vote in the state, I guess, if you're like military or something like that. But yeah, first, last name. Oh, well, good thing that that's not my actual information. But yeah, you just fill out first, last name, email, your address, so it figures out which district you're in. From what I can tell, they don't like spam you with emails or anything like that. This is Action Network, which is Legalize ND's platform of choice, I guess, for this. And I know it's a choice of platform for pretty much everybody when it comes to left-leaning issues. So yeah, you basically fill this information out. It'll figure out who your legislators are in your district, and it will send them an email, just depending on what you want to have say in it. Type all that stuff in, hit submit, and it'll send all three, or however many people in your district. So yeah, and it'll tell people, hey, vote yes, vote yes. Tell other people if you're not in North Dakota, or if you have already done this, tell them like, hey, I want I did this, you should do this as well. The more emails, the better. Even though it's like, I would hate to have like, I know they had, right here it says that there's 89 emails that were sent. Apparently the counter's broken, which I don't believe. So 89 emails is probably a lot if you're the one person that ended up receiving them type of a deal, but it's basically every buddy in that district. So yeah, do that. Yeah, that's all we have. If you like this video, make sure to share it. If you like this show and want more, make sure to check out Canna-Talk with Wilson on 95.9 at Radio Free Fargo, which is every Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. Again, next week, not this coming week, the next week is Representative Doctor, who is the writer of 1420. So that's that. And if you're not in the Fargo-Moorhead area, you can listen the next day on this YouTube channel, and it comes up at usually 5 to 5:30, just depending on what I have planned for the day. But yeah, and it's also on every single podcasting platform of your choice. If you go in the description down below, is a link to everything. So if you use like Apple Podcasts, you click that. If you use Google Podcasts, you click that. It'll take you right there. And that's the same day. That's usually about an hour, half an hour to an hour later is when it goes live. So you can always listen there. You can also listen online live, radiofreefargo.org. Yeah, make sure to sub, hit the like button. Be awesome. Thank you guys. My name is Phil. Anthony will be on next week probably, and this has been Cannaheads. We'll see you guys next week. Well, again, for sure, next week at 7:30 p.m. And we'll be talking about the, I'm hoping we're going to be talking about the passage of House Bill 1420. But yeah, we'll see that. And thank you guys. You guys have a great rest of your night. Bye-bye.